Right, everyone, welcome to Training Tuesday. So for you that don't know me, my name is Chris Blackburn, the Head of Partnerships here for ISR Training, and I get the pleasure to spend 30 minutes with Mr. Hawkes that will introduce himself as well.
Yeah, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Rob Hawkes. I'm the Head of Performance and Coaching here at ISR Training. Today is Training Tuesdays, where we take 30 minutes to run through a topic that we've kind of picked based on conversations with our clients and maybe even some suggestions from the studio audience. Yeah, we're going to be talking all things sales. And for those of you who are in the academy, you do get the opportunity to go and listen to this. So you can basically come back and listen to it another time if you so desire. What are we covering today, Chris?
Yeah, so today we're actually going to try our best in 30 minutes to run through the entire sales process. Now, we know that that's going to be very, very difficult. So as we normally say, pen and paper at the ready. We always do say it, but this one is going to be really interactive. We want to ask and receive as many questions as we possibly can through this session. So in the chat function in Zoom and across Facebook, any questions in and around your sales process, me and Rob will try our best over the next 29 minutes or so to sort of unpack them sessions today. But basically, we're going to run from the first introduction all the way through to generating referral clients and try and get through as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, we absolutely will. We've got some Hi Quentin and a couple of other guys. We've got our I want to say regulars, but that makes it sound like a pub. But we've got our regulars on Facebook, Mandy, Frankie. Hey, good to see you. Just before we get started, and we just want to let you guys know as a bit of an announcement, we're going to be moving Training Tuesdays to a kind of a monthly thing. The reason being is for those of you inside the academy, you will know that every Monday morning, 8 a.m., there is a Swish focus session where we will be going through, your Monday morning motivation, getting you pumped. Because of that, we're now just making these Training Tuesdays a month apart. We're still going to be going on. And the big change is it's going to be only on Facebook. So for those on Zoom, you just have to make sure you're not going to get a Zoom calendar invite. It's just going to be live on Facebook. So really, really simple. Every month or so, generally might not even be a Tuesday, but me and Chris will go live once a month to talk all things sales for you guys. And for those of you who are in the academy, you'll still be able to listen to the audio off the back of it. So what if you don't have a Facebook profile? Then that's a great question.
You've stumped up with an objection already.
grab your friend's phone and watch it on there. I believe you don't need a Facebook profile to watch Facebook videos. It'll also be on YouTube. Justin, so you'll be able to see. So what I'd love, we got some new names in here, some old faces as well. Hey, Andy, can we just get a list of industries? So let's get some real understanding of what industries we've got here before we talk about sales process. So whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Zoom, what industry are you in? We already know we've got some, but I want everybody to see who we've got here. So we've got IT services, marketing, fire protection, infrared saunas and oxygen therapy, landscaping, 3D printing, tech, building industry. Oh, Jared, you're in your training when you answer like that. Helping people find customers. Love it. On Facebook, we've got health, water. We have got wine. Welcome, Frankie. So plenty of the food industry and Biltong, Protea Foods. Brandon, take a bow, my friend. Thank you so much for the. So, Chris, why do you think I asked? You wanted it to, let's, I don't know what to say, throw you under the bus, put you on the spot, ask you a question. Why do you think I asked, in regards to the sale process, what industries we've got here today? Why do you think I asked that?
To understand that regardless of products and service, there's always a process to follow. 15 years in sales, I wish it was as easy as just jumping on the phone and making a sale, but there's a lot more to the process. So for me, you need a process from the first introduction all the way through to the end of it. So I feel like, as you can see, accountant, bookkeeping, we get the opportunity to work with many industries, and obviously fortunate enough to drive results in all of the above that we've named as well. So without the process and our 10-step structure, the negotiation ladder, that's essentially what we're going to run through today.
Absolutely. And there is that hidden step, which we sometimes don't talk about, which is preparation. Mm-hmm. Preparation is 100% part of and if it isn't, it should be part of your sales process. There is nothing worse than being underprepared. So Chris, I heard you talking about it today with some of the sales team in regards to who are you calling today? Mm-hmm. Who are you picking up the phone to? You shouldn't be having it now. It should be done the night before. So preparation. And yeah, like Chris said, we're going to cover why it's important and obviously a little bit around the what. Not necessarily the how today, but we're just going to work our way through. So if you are looking at your sales process, you'll be able to take some little nuggets of gold based around what we've spoken about. But that's the little first nugget for you is preparation, making sure that you are 100% prepared for the interactions. That's with your elevator pitch. That's with, if you get asked, why are you so special? What's good about you? Who are you speaking to tomorrow, today, the next week? Mm-hmm. Being prepared for the industries you're going to target. Are you using the 5-spoke rule? Are you using your referral partners? All of that. Preparation is key to your sales process. We're also going to touch on the ecosystem and marketing and all that sort of thing. But Chris, do you want to sort of fill in why is it important to have a sales process?
I guess it'd be more pertinent to say why it'd be less important not to have one, but for a sales process, I feel like it just gives you structure and a guideline. I mean, for myself, I don't follow a script verbatim. I know Ryan will be cringing at that as well. Our CEO Ryan, that's very much around that. For myself, I have a framework or a skeleton to sort of follow and ensure that I'm always on the line of sale while building rapport and while gathering intelligence. So I feel like if I didn't have a process and I winged the entire thing, I don't feel I'd get the outcome that we'd be looking to seek, nor would I be able to communicate the value of how I believe we can help somebody else moving forward, if that makes sense. So I feel like the process can break down in each step of the sales process, so I think it's pretty vital to have one.
Yeah, I mean, Frankie's just said on Facebook, it gives you confidence. Mm-hmm. Having a process, I mean, you wouldn't go into a football match, let's use a sporting analogy, without a game plan. You wouldn't go into any sort of big presentation without a plan, or you might do, but it wouldn't be conducive to winning. I think that's kind of what you're getting at. And I think what you're saying about a script, like you have structure to it. I mean, I got into sales from reading word for word scripts, but learning how to put my own spin on it. I mean, we've got Abby, hey Abby, in insurance. Sometimes there are things that you have to say, but going through a process or understanding that there is structure and the need for structure. I don't know. I mean, maybe people would disagree here, but obviously with the results that our clients get and from our own experiences, I believe that having a process in place that you can follow, it also means that it's scalable. We're talking about where do you want to be and where does your business want to be. So you make decisions based around where it's going to be, not where you're at. And having that sales process is important, making sure that you actually can follow a structure. So I suppose a lot of people will talk about, retail or over the phone sales. And it's like, well, I wish I just had something in place where I could follow. That's essentially a script, but I understand that there's a connotation towards scripting, which is sounding robotic. We don't want to create robots.
I had 5 years in insurance, the same as Abby, and I found that difficult, being verbatim, word for word. But I think the one thing, again, that sort of goes into the sales process is back when I was 17 and I saw another, 2,500 people outperforming me, but they're saying the same words. I just couldn't grasp the reason why they were making sales, but I wasn't. But as you've already alluded to, it all comes down to the delivery of the script. So the words are there, the process is there, but you've obviously got to put your own personality and your own spin to that to connect with the client too. If you are verbatim, there's still a way to deliver that.
Yeah. Oh, well, like you hit the nail on the head there. There is a reason why others were doing it, because they were delivering it differently, or they were tonally delivering it differently. But I think the key is understanding that there is, structure in place. Maybe just as, and hi April, thanks for joining us today. Is there anybody out there that doesn't have a sales process? Is there anyone I'd love to see here? Just a simple no or not sure. Hi David. You don't have a sales process, or maybe you have one but you're not sure. Because I think that it's important that we give people what they're after today, and making sure that we deliver on this, whether it's your ecosystem, bearing in mind that I talk about preparation, but the sales process can begin right at the beginning of the customer journey. Where are they seeing you? Is your message consistent with the marketing that you're doing? When they actually get you on the phone or land on your page, is it different? Are you actually being consistent with everything that you're saying? Hopefully, as you go work your way through the ISR sales process, seeing us on either LinkedIn, the socials,
Facebook
Lives, popping your details in, requesting a call, having a sales awareness call, coming through to speak to a sales agent, having a discovery, understanding your needs, maybe booking a demo, and so on and so forth. Every little aspect of that has been thought out thoroughly, all the way down to the wording, the copy that's written in the online. What is your sales process? Like when people see you online, is there a strong call to action? Do they get to you? Are you making it easy for people? Are you framing the conversation? Are you actually telling people what to expect when they come through your funnel? If you go through the ISR funnel, then you'll see that we're actually framing it the whole way. At the end of this, we'll give you this. At the end of that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Start with the end in mind, right?
Yeah.
And that's similar to what we spoke about today when I was working with the team on preparation. And I feel like if you're calling, Zoom meeting or anything, just having a sole intent or multiple intents of the reason that interaction is going to happen, have an A, B, and C plan. Because if you go in with one intention and the customer's not going to go with that sort of intention, then you want to be creative to have plan B and plan C, if that makes sense. Like if let's say we're speaking with people that may have been through our 14-day challenge that's currently on now. If we're calling with the sole intent to grab feedback, once that's been given after 60 seconds, we're winging the whole thing. Whereas if we've got a A, B, and C plan of the reason why we're going to give this person a call or a tag online or whatever it looks like, there's more creativity behind that. So I understand we're going to cover the framework today, but again, it's about, like Rob said, once you're preparing, having 3 preparing sort of steps into there, the same as introducing, framing, qualifying a customer. So after we've prepared, Rob, what do we do? What's step 1? Let's try and get through this in 18 minutes.
I'd argue that preparation is step 1, but I say argue, I'd suggest that it is, or it is. But yeah, so I guess in our process, we talking somebody who's reached out to us, or we have the contact information. Yeah. So yeah, reaching out to them via phone generally would be again, this is where it's contentious around, like, have they seen us? Have they seen us online? How have you found us? Or I saw you on Facebook, but did you receive a cold call a year ago for you to put your details, put ISR training into Google and then let the analytics world, if that is a world, let the Google world do its thing. But yeah, so making a winning first impression. Having 4.5 seconds, a couple of seconds face to face to make that. We always say that you're building on, forever building on or repairing your first impression. So making sure that you are doing that. Framing the conversation next, making sure that we let the individual know, what are you doing right now? Where the amount of times where you receive a phone call and it's like, well, where are we going with this? What are we doing? Are you telling them that after a couple of questions, I'll let you know whether or not we can work together, and actually making it really clear? So like Chris said, framing or being prepared for that. What is your intent? My intent is to discover, understand if there is a sale to be made. Maybe it's not. Maybe your intent is to call to, offer an incentive, but at least having a plan to that. So yeah, frame.
But the customer knows what's coming up there. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're going to frame the conversation and say, I appreciate you popping in your details. Naturally, after supporting so many businesses, obviously everyone's situation and needs different. So today I really want to just get an understanding of maybe why you pop your details in, potentially what you're looking for. Typically, if we can't help, we'll shake each other's hands and wish each other all the best, if that's okay. And on the flip side to that, if there's an overlap where we support, I may offer a couple of different options if you're comfortable with that today.
Yeah. So just
confirms yes. Now I'm allowed to go into qualifying the decision maker, the need for the product, the budget, everything that we need to sort of qualify before we present. So I feel like setting the frame or the agenda of the conversation is pretty key to allow the customer to open up a little bit more. As Josie's put in there, a script for first contact by phone to set up a meeting and a checklist for the meeting to prompt questions. I was working for a business called BT back in the UK called British Telecom. They're the Telstra of the UK, the largest telecommunications provider. We used to have a 3-step process called RFT, and it stands for right first time. And that's pretty much what Josie's saying now. It was a checklist where if we hadn't covered the key points that we needed to do, we couldn't actually move to the next screen on the system. So we had to literally tick everything off to a T in order to get to the next thing. So that was their process internally. We followed the old school intranet where people was on an internal education server. And that was key, having a checklist, having a right first time. It means when we had telephony audits or anything like that from the HR perspective, nobody was missing anything from a customer. Zero. There was never a call back and say, this guy never told me that this was going to happen with my phone, internet, TV, because, well, for one, all calls recorded, but we had an RFT system to sort of remove the potential chance of a call back. Don't get me wrong, BT had many call-in customers, but that was something else we had to deal with. But having a checklist or an RFT is how my brain remembers that is very, very important.
So do you think without that you'll miss stuff then? Like you'll miss key information if you don't have your, like, what you need to establish from your customer before you can present the key qualifications. You know, there's a few things you want to know.
Yeah.
Do they need it? Can they afford it, etc.?
Yeah, I'd have a skeleton sort of script in the way I operate. So more around the elevator pitch. So, you know, as we know, promote clarity, identify who we help, tell them the problems you solve. Once we get the 3 areas that we solve, that's the discovery. They're the 3 things. So if we help companies increase conversion rates, their average transaction value, and reduce the sales cycle, for me to go through an effective consultation, I need to understand all 3. As we've covered in previous weeks, we go big picture questions, secondary, tertiary level questions to really understand the wants and needs of the customer. So yeah, I feel like having your checklist or your tick sheet as you run through it just means you don't have that ability to miss it. And then they say, you know, I don't feel like this is for me, call me back in a month's time and I've missed something in there. So yeah, if that answers.
But also that what you said there just prompted me to think about, like, I would include building as much scarcity and or urgency as early as possible in my own sales process, because when we did our sales disc a couple of years ago, urgency was the lowest thing on my score. So I was forever getting email, I'll put in an email, or like send me in an invoice, I'll do it later. Lacking that real urgency. So I've incorporated the urgency into my own sales process, because I know that that's an area that I needed to improve on. So that kind of like checklist can also be where do you fall down, or what issues do you have in your sales? When you get to the decision maker and they say, well, what do you know about my business? Did you not do enough preparation? You know, is it, I don't know, like, I don't know, you produce a product, great. That doesn't make me think that you actually care about me. So have you got your, what we call them the non-negotiables? Have you got your non-negotiables in your sales process to make sure that when you are following it step by step, you never miss anything? Like making sure that when, like we would do, when you get off the phone, you add them on LinkedIn, you send them a text message the next day, or, you know, that follow-up is a sales process.
Even in the preparation stage, having the PCS, so PCS stands for pre-contact stalk. It sounds bad, but if you receive inbound leads, and let's hope there's companies in here in the digital world that are receiving inbound leads, if you receive somebody's email, and try that now, pop in chris.blackburn@isrtraining.com.au, you're going to find out a lot of information about me. So if I put in my details as a potential prospect or client, and you give me a call and say, hey, I've just noticed that you've got a dog, or you've just got engaged, or something like that, it builds a level of connect. Like, I'm not going to say, what are you doing on my social media page? Because it's a social media page. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in preparation, there's so much intel that you can gather that would help your rapport building process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's there for a reason. It's so that you can, show that you're a human and you're a person. So I think if that isn't in your sales process, like we talk about ecosystem, I've said it before, but it's about everything. It's not about just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, my business comes from referrals. Brilliant. But that doesn't mean that person won't go on. I was talking to Rod Frampton, if you're watching Rod High, Frampton Builders. We're talking about creating content for Rod, doing like time lapse and video testimonials. Even though most of his work comes from referrals, it doesn't mean that they don't go on.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, go and use Rod. Great. I'm just going to go and jump on and check his Facebook page or his socials and Instagram, just to make sure that even though it's a referral, even though I know that he came and did a renovation, just like us, even though I know that your sales results have increased, people are skeptical. Like, I was doing a quality control earlier, people they're a little bit like, I don't believe all of these stats and statistics, and, some people don't, and that's okay. And hopefully, there's enough content out there for people to go and do their own research, reviews. Even then it's not enough, but some people, the only way they'll know is by doing it. They sort of put themselves in a catch-22. It's like, well, I need more, but I don't believe what you tell me. It's like, all right. That's not everybody, of course. But
I'd love to know in the chat as well, just on what I covered there. If you popped your details in as an inbound request, and they jumped onto your website to get an understanding of who you are, what you do prior to the call, would you be comfortable, or would you not be comfortable with that? I'd love to get people's opinion on that. Because I personally wouldn't.
If you were the client.
So if I was a prospect of ISR training, I pop my details in at looking at how to increase the revenue in my business. If you called me and said, hey, I've just been on the website prior to calling, and I noticed as a plumber, you also look after home renovations as well. Is that correct? I would instantly be like, he's on it. He's an expert. He knows what he's doing. He's on top of things. So again, not everybody would have that opinion though. So
no. Me personally, I think I would in conversation. Yeah, if I was to get it, if they were getting it in conversationally,
mm-hmm.
I'd be like, yeah, this guy gets it. If he told me 2 or 3 things that he'd seen, and there was no context to it, I'd be a little bit like, I mean, I'd be like, fair enough, you've done your research, but yeah, that's just me. That's just the way that I buy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, so what do we got? We've got don't really mind, absolutely, comfy, yes. I do this when prior to calling a customer to understand them better. So we've got a bit of a mixed opinion. What I like about that is there is no right way to do that. You'll have to what we got on Facebook. We've got Ash, hey mate. So you've got would feel comfortable. Joe, prep is important. Mandy said yes. So yeah, it's on the whole, I would say that most people would feel comfortable with that. I think it's just intel, isn't it? It's about showing that you're a professional.
Elegant how you use it too. As you said, you don't call up and start, I've seen you've got biltong just delivered to the office. You don't call that straight away, but yeah. I'm sure you can use that within the intelligence gathering as well.
Justin said most people are a bit deluded if they thought people didn't sort them on the night. I agree with you. I think that people are always watching. I think that's the key. And if you don't have social media, if you don't have a LinkedIn presence or something in your sales process, I mean, it sounds silly, but you're missing a trick here. You really are. You need to have some level of it in your process so that you can then incorporate that into your follow-up, so that people who maybe aren't ready to buy will then follow you and then come back around. I don't care what industry you're in. I think nowadays it's really important.
Question for you, Rob. Urgency, you covered it before. How are you building that into your sales process?
how.
Yeah, so obviously where you say very early on
Yeah.
in the process, so how are you currently building a level of natural urgency?
Easy example of that was end of financial year, and inside of my first maybe 30 seconds to a minute. If I'm talking to someone and say, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm well, thanks. You? Yeah, really well. End of financial year. We've got a couple of days left of the sale. It's been absolute mayhem. Just trying to squeeze in those last couple of onboardings. What about you? So I've kind of suggested that there's a level of scarcity there. Or coaching with my time. So I'd place a bit of scarcity around the fact that my time is of a premium, not going, oh, I'm really busy. It's like, like I've had a lot of coaching today. I'm generally booked back to back. So yeah, I'm feeling very productive today, and kind of insinuating or suggesting that I'm booked back to back coaching, meaning two things. Firstly, lots of people are having coaching, which you all know, half of you are being coached by me or other ISR coaches. Secondly, suggesting that my time is of a premium, and which between those sort of hours of 7 and 6, which I dedicate to ISR typically, then it would be. So that's how I would do it. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So I guess looking at anything that we try and cover is just pulling that away and then applying that into your process. So I feel like what Rob has there is his go-to very early on in the piece, having a go-to that's going to lend value to either you or the company, not the product. I don't feel anyway. I don't know your opinion on that, Rob. I feel like if you put urgency on the product in the first 30 seconds is a little bit too early because the customer needs to realistically connect with you. So if there's anything that you can offer that's for me tomorrow morning, I'll be up at 6 a.m. Inside of a business networking group. So my go-to tomorrow, if anybody asks how I am, I'm doing really well. I've been up since 6 a.m. Inside of a business networking group with 50 businesses. So today's been very long, but nice and productive too. How about yourself? So I try and add as much value into me possibly as I can very early on in the piece as well, similar to what Rob's saying.
I wouldn't, like I say, I wouldn't do the I'm really well, thanks. We've only got 2 spots left of a boot camp. How about you? I wouldn't necessarily go directly into that. But I mean, when we were coaching Success Resources and I was talking about the exclusivity on Tony Robbins's last event, the 15th time it was the last event he was coming here, then you can kind of be like, we've been really busy. Given the fact that it's one of Tony's last times coming over here, the phones have been non-stop ringing. What about you? So you could do it.
Of course.
But you just got to be mindful of that. You don't want to overdo it. Scarcity's got to be something that, as you would have seen, if you've watched our previous training, it's something that's got to be planted over time and not just dropped in at the end. We had some comments on Facebook here. Showing initiative, Sam. Yeah, absolutely, it does. When you're having not pre-planned, but you've got something in mind already. That was a good chance to mask for visitors. I don't understand that, Quentin. Sorry. So maybe just unpack that for me. While we've got 2 minutes left, bearing in mind that we're moving from once every week to once a month, and we've blasted through all sorts of different stuff here. So has anyone got?
We have not followed a process, have we?
Oh, absolutely, we did. That was for Chris. Quentin said.
Perfect. A part of BNI. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, a good chance to ask for visitors. Perfect. Sorry. I was miles away there. Any questions? We've got 2 minutes. So anyone want to ask us? I know we're going to have a chance to answer them in 2 minutes, but I'm happy to go for another couple of minutes. So if anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop them through. If not, as I said, reiterate from earlier, guys. Having a process is important. I think having a structure to follow. There are so many ways to do it. We don't have the only way. There are, of course, lots of different ways, and a lot of people in here would have already had it. But I feel like we've covered a few little things in there that you would get. I think for scalability, if you're looking to really build and go bigger or more efficient, it's a lot easier for someone to come in and follow a process than it is for them to come in and do what you were doing. Because if they don't know how to follow it, then how could you scale yourself out of your business or whatnot? So
I think that's where the sales funnel comes in really important. I feel like if, regardless of the industry, we'll have some people that'll have a sales cycle of, 3 minutes, we'll have a sales cycle of 3 years. So I think putting people into the sales funnel and your KPIs. So for us, we have introduce, discover, present, overcome, close, follow up, so on and so forth through the 10-step process. So if you,
and prep.
And prep, step 0. And then if you can put them into your process, you know where people are potentially falling out, and then you can start really working on that. So if you're discovering somebody's needs and you're not getting an opportunity to present, then we look back and see what questions we're asking to refine that process, where if we're getting all the way through to presenting and we're getting a lot of objections, then we may look at the feature and benefit grid of you, the company, the products and services that you offer. Again, if you're in the academy, jump back in and rewatch all of this content to be able to really unpack that. But I felt like that was quite pertinent to what we've discussed today, that everybody's process is so different. That's why we can't tailor it to everybody watching this session today. But the process, the reason that Rob's worked in the industries he has, and the coaches that he provides to the industries that he works with as well, is the same process every time. It just changes.
Yeah, that's kind of why why we've moved to do the weekly sessions on the Monday, is that we, I cover a lot of the same things all day. How to I always use the example of the Eisenhower quadrants of, urgent and important, urgent not important, and so on and so forth. I did that session 6 or 7 times a couple of weeks ago, because it's relative. That was a structure, a process for time management within sales that can be applied to anyone. So, we do get a lot sometimes people saying, oh, but my industry is so specific, but the process is the same. I'm not in sales, but I tell somebody about what I do and then they buy it. Right. Okay. So that's sales. We've had a couple of questions. So bearing in mind, this is the last one for a month, so I'm going to keep going. My wife's going to have a go at me when I get home and the kids aren't in bed. Urgency works if it's true, but how do you manufacture urgency? You don't.
No.
You 100% don't. If there is no natural urgency, you can build in campaigns. So, we can have an end of a Christmas in July special or a Valentine's Day special. So you can build in the time there. You can create your own time frames. Like, I am only available between the hours of 8 and 6. So if you're looking for coaching, I can't, so you can create your own scarcity, but urgency is, it's not something that you can sort of falsify. We spoke about it before about, that carpet store that's been closing down for 15 years.
With the limited stock available.
Yeah, it's been closing down and it will continue to be closing down. So you kind of don't believe it.
Yeah. And I guess that comes back to the delivery of it as well. If you falsify an urgency or scarcity or whatever, and it's not ethic and honest, it depends obviously on who's delivering it, but it would, for me, come across just not right,
it's not honest and it's not ethical especially if it's like you have I got asked today, are you still doing your end of financial year special? No, sorry, we're not. No, and that was it. If I'd gone, I'll let you in, then I've actually done everybody that paid up until midnight on that day, or when it got removed off of the website, a disservice. So, And the last question here from Josie is, how often would you review? Can you unpack that for us, Josie? Do you mean how often would you ask for reviews? How often would you review your sales process? Just unpack that for us. How quick can you type? If you can type it in while Josie's doing sales process, how often would you review it? That's a good question. I would say probably if you review your customer journey, and maybe every 3 months or so, making sure that we change our sales process in terms of where are the leads coming from. So that could be a new lead source, but our process has stayed the same for a long time. The core fundamentals of it. I wouldn't change it too often, but I would review it regularly to make sure that it's coming.
I'd follow the standard 4-step process, the PDCS, Josie, with that one. So plan it, do it, check it. If it works, standardize it. if you plan, do, and you're checking it doesn't work, go back to the planning stage again. And for me, I wouldn't try and reinvent the wheel every time you look at your sales process. Go through each step, work through your sales funnel, go from the introduction to the framing, to the qualifying, to the discovering, to the presenting, and start looking at the numbers that are moving forward. And you may find one little point that's like, let's review how we're presenting what we do. That may be the tweak in that, but if you try and change the entire thing, you may change the things that are working too.
All the time. Last question from Justin. Would you miss a sale rather than extend the end of financial year discount? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. If someone's only looking to come on because it's a discount, I wouldn't want them to come on in our training, because they're coming on for the wrong reason. If it's, well, I'll do it when there's a sale again, I would question why they're doing it in the first place. I hope that comes across in the right way. But if you're, if somebody missed out, then so be it. And unfortunately, there may be another opportunity later if they wanted to wait for that. But I personally, I wouldn't, because I feel like, it's not fair on those that took advantage of when the offer was available. And I'd be a little bit like, well, you told me that it wasn't available, yet you made it available for somebody else. And unfortunately, then you lose your integrity. So I appreciate that.
One good answer.
No, awesome. All right, guys. Well, look, it's 5:36, and I've got some children to go home and put to bed. But just again, please remember, we are not going to be doing it next week. We're going to be doing it at the beginning of August, our next Training Tuesday. But there is plenty of stuff on YouTube, so make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, and so on and so forth. I hope that was some helpful information on the sales process there. Chris, do you want to wrap us up? Sorry, I was looking at you.
Left me hanging. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 talk, Rob. 1, 2, 3 talk. No, thank you for everyone who's been a part of these last 24, I believe, Rob, weekly sessions. So thank you for being a part over the last 6 months or so while we've been doing this. As Rob's touched on, we're across socials, so please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, Facebook. If you do have any questions from what we covered tonight, we're more than happy to help. But apart from that, have an awesome rest of the week, and thank you for just taking 37 minutes out of your busy schedules this evening.
Awesome. If those in the academy, we'll see you Monday morning. If not, everyone else will see you in the internet. I don't know, that's weird. All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
See you guys.